Paul McGurk, Commissioner.
Susan Dowling, Commissioner.
Craig Nolan, Commissioner.
George Mathenall, Commissioner.
You want the liaisons?
Sure. Put them on record.
All right, Aaron.
Good to know.
Aaron Brooks. Aaron Brooks, Groton Utilities.
Jill
Aaron.
Russ, RTM Liaison.
Sam Eisenbizer, Town Staff.
Welcome all. Okay, so the first meeting of 2021. I know we were all hoping that it would just start off like perfect, but we're still have a lot of residual stuff to get through here. So, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Any public communications that we know of, Lauren?
Nope, there's no one else here.
Okay, well, moving on then. Approval of the minutes that were sent all out to us. I did go through them. I didn't see any changes, but I will leave it to you. That anyone have any amendments or changes or additions?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Susan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Minutes are approved. Moving right along. Okay, so this is always the beginning of the year. We like to and I hope you all got a copy of it. I know I just was very pressed this week and I worked on it, but I finally put a draft together that Laura and I asked to send out later this afternoon.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so I know that Paul was asking for people to give some feedback on goals. I don't know what he has. I just basically using this as a working draft. I'm more comfortable kind of going from this format because I think it's a little bit concise for the town council. I don't know how much they read into it or what they're looking for. But I really wanted to touch on what our goals were for 2020, which was, I think we were very optimistic in the beginning of the year and had some good ideas that moving forward. Then of course, come March, we got hit with the COVID. So everything changed at that point. And I kind of tried to incorporate that into the summary and the up part and focused on what we did actually accomplish. Because even given all that as a commission, and I commend you all for it, is we kind of really stood up and also hats off to the staff portion of this, because they really did a great job informationally keeping as much information flow. But we were out there and we actually, what we did in the summertime with getting that whole thing with handing masks out and stuff, but more just touching on the businesses, especially the restaurants, which seem to be hit the hardest. But I know a lot of other businesses, and I've talked to many of them, and hopefully we've gotten our email list a little bit expanded from people seeing that there is a resource going to that Explore Groton, because I think that's the best way. If we drive more people to that website, we can throw a lot of information out there to them. We also were able to pull off, albeit abbreviated, a brief forum because of the plastics. And we kind of incorporated one aspect of the supply chain of that. And we did have some participation there. So, given everything we were faced as a commission, I really think we did step up. And that being said, I really look at 2021 as to kind of continue on with that and look from the standpoint that the vaccine's out there now, albeit not as quickly as we'd like it to be being administered. But I think the businesses now are going to need more support than ever because what's post-COVID look like? And I think there are going to be some changes that we're seeing already. The plus side of what we've seen in the town, and I know Sam and Paige usually discuss this, but from my observation is nothing else really stopped. Our bringing in new business and some of the properties that they were marketing, they did a really great job of keeping them moving forward. We got the standard down in Mystic that's been moving really quite quickly, that we had a part in by giving them some funds to do improvements for the town purposes. And everything else seems to be moving pretty well ahead, albeit now we need to get that word out also. So then you'll see down below, I incorporated from the goal standpoint is I really want to restart the quarterlies. That was my main focus last year, and we couldn't really do it. We already have one set for the 11th, which is on Monday, which is kind of on the side, but we have a servicing company that's out of Old Saybrook that's local that will be there to discuss what they can do. They're kind of like a Grubhub, but a local service, at least to get it out there. We're not promoting them, but at least to get it out there for some of these restaurants and such that might need an alternative delivery service to expand their business. So we hope that that'll have a fairly good turnout.
Bill, I saw at the Jealous Monk in the Old Mystic Village, they had those pods, and I don't know if they're like a lucrative restaurant and that they're like, if they were expensive. There was 3 of them.
Yep. Okay. So my understanding of those pods, just to give you they're about $2,000 a piece. Now, in fact, I was hoping Justin was on the line because I was going to talk to him offline. They came out with the new passage of the payroll protection. So this is like the round 2 of it. There are certain businesses that didn't participate the first time. They're allowed to incorporate any of those expenses that are incurred to adapt to that type of stuff. And I think those pods might, or the domes, whatever, might fall into it. So, $2,000 to me seems to be a lot of capital investment for some of these businesses hurting. But if they can use funding vis-a-vis those alternatives, maybe it's something that they can pull off. But that's really,
it's interesting. It's too bad they can't be rented or something. Somebody should start a business of renting those things, because that could be a worldwide opportunity. But it's, again, I don't think there's anybody that rents those things out to, in other words, not the businesses, but a company that rents them out, like a tent.
Here's a twofold for you, playing devil's advocate for especially the Mystic community. But after this is all over, do you want those pods all over the place?
I think that there's a place for them. I don't know. I think they're kind of a creative situation and creates another element. So I don't know.
I leave that to the businesses themselves, but I think there might be some finance opportunities through this new payroll protection if they want to take advantage of it. And there again, those are the types of things that we will put on the website. I'm getting more information on that daily. So that might be an opportunity for some.
Yeah,
so just to finish out what I had here, continue to support the Office of Planning Development as we've done already. Our main focus is expanding our business base. The other thing that goes with that is the housing, which we've been working on to try to get more of our Groton employed people to actually reside in Groton. And that goes back to that whole sense of place that we continually talk about. And as I said, there's some good things that are going on. We just have to stay on top of that. And rounding it out, working with our partner sector, TRIP, EB, USN, none of this is really different. So that's how I put it in my format. I'm open for any discussion we want to have on this. And if someone would prefer a different format to go to the council, that's fine also. But I think this kind of spells it out from my point of view. So
I like what you have. I think it's really thorough and complete and concise. And I especially like the goals for 2021. So I think it looks great. I don't know that I can make any recommendations beyond what you've done so far.
Bill, I like your format and your approach. I'd like to make a suggestion in terms of goals.
One more time.
I'd like to make a suggestion in terms of the goals. I like your format and approach.
Okay, go ahead.
Your preamble talks about how this is a different time, and therefore we need to be really sensitive to what the businesses are going through. But then all 4 goals have not anything to do with these times. And I think that happened. There's a nice way to go back to an earlier goal. Might be more work for us, but to address that, because otherwise it's assuming that quarterly panels are the way to address COVID, and I don't think they are alone. It's a solution in search of a problem. But if we instead were to enhance our outreach in this short period of time and build on that, we could be going out and identifying what the issues are that people are experiencing and committing to then doing something about them or bringing those issues to town attention. We could,
Yeah. Specifically, my aspect is not really addressing COVID per se, because that's not our charge. I recognize that there's an impact, and I'll put it any way you want. In that number one, that's one of the first parts is restart the forums, but requesting the feedback from the business community. So that's our job, to go out and say, what do you want us to discuss? We're not just going to say, hey, we're throwing these at you, and whether you want it or not. It's really to try to get feedback.
yeah, but inherent in that is our forums the solution to whatever it is that they want. And I think we ought to be searching for feedback from businesses, because COVID and the economy are in real trouble right now. And we ought to be more actively soliciting what are the issues that they have and how do we help them to address it. So it would sort of build up or build back up the issue of our outreach and then doing something about the outreach that we hear. So it's not a criticism of one.
No, I know.
So it's,
Can I?
go ahead.
Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry, Craig. I agree with you. Can I offer just a suggestion to maybe if we can get some more laser focus on who we're addressing? There's clearly winners and losers in this new environment. I think the losers are actually, there's fewer losers than there are winners, but the losers are really getting hurt bad. So restaurants, for instance. So I suggest that, yes, we do more outreach to find out what's going on out there and see how we can help. But we should really laser focus ourselves on the one or two industries that are absolutely getting hurt the most, and forego the other business communities, because I feel in the past we've been stretched thin to hit everybody. So just a suggestion.
And if I could weigh in too.
What I would welcome from everyone, so I'm taking it, as I said, this is a working draft that I just did myself. Send that, because the ideas are great. So the focus standpoint is, initially, we already know the ones hurt the worst. Restaurants, food service, whatever it might be. And then we kind of are already addressing that on the 11th. And I would say the first forum, it's not to solve problems, it's actually to bring problems out to light. So that's the best way I know to get people together to voice out what we're trying to find out, as opposed to doing individual calls. That being said, the individual calls we should still be doing will collect information, saying, hey, I got something we weren't aware of. What can we do about it? Now, maybe it's a forum, maybe it's something else, but I agree with both points there. So
I just wanted to weigh in, if you don't mind, in response to what Craig said.
yeah,
We do know the industries that have been hit the worst, and the real issue is, I believe, out of our control, because it's what the governor decides to mandate week to week. So I don't see, unless we're going to be supplying money to keep them afloat, I think we do know what the issues are. We've if you're watching TV daily, it's brought to our attention what's going on in New York, California, Chicago, Connecticut. We know what the issues are for these businesses that are not allowed to open or opening at a limited capacity. That is the issue. To solve it, they need cash flow. So I'm listening to Craig to what you brought up, but I think we know the solution, and the solution is how can we help? We don't have a piggy bank that we're going to start sending dollars to these businesses.
I do think there are creative. Yeah, I do think there are creative solutions, though, to try to drive business to these places. You're right. We don't, as an EDC, have the cash, but the public does. There's still money out there. There's still lots of money going around. So we need to figure out a way that we can help drive, indicate that these businesses are open. Like Bill said, the forum on the food delivery company, that might take less money as commission from these businesses to make it reasonable for them. So I do think there are ways we can help. I think we need to uncover them, though, and be creative about it.
Sam, you got something to say?
Yeah, thanks. I'll just say quick. And Tom, I do appreciate, obviously the cash flow is very acute. It's a real problem. What we're finding is that you know, businesses have an opportunity here to pivot, whether it because it's going to benefit them in the next 6 to 18 months, or if it's because this is going to be a way they're going to be resilient moving forward for the foreseeable future. We have hired Nava Retail, as we've mentioned, to do these surveys, and what we're finding is that there are just not enough businesses who already have a digital presence, and that takes time. But to your point, you know, one of the forum topics that we'd like to see is try to get businesses out to talk about, you know, why is it important to start having a digital presence, to create online or contactless payment solutions, to kind of pivot to, you know, more takeout, or, you know, why should you engage in a local delivery system? So again, and to Bill's point, this should be an ongoing conversation. You know, we have a forum. That's a great chance to be listening as much as talking. Then you guys go out, to your point, Paul, hit those the restaurants first and the retailers, because, you know, they were already had issues coming into this, and then now their foot traffic has really been decimated. So then you get more emailed addresses. Then you get those email addresses. Then when we have a forum, we get it in front of the right people, and it should build on itself. So you're all right. And I think the more you explicate that in those goals, the better. But really, I would encourage you to think of this as an ongoing conversation, where the more feedback we get, the smarter we are about what kinds of things we can introduce. If it is technical issues about digital, digital presence, we can make that happen for free for businesses.
Thanks, Sam. Susan.
Yeah. Bill, I try to think outside the box a little, just be creative, like everybody's trying to come up with some ideas. Recently, I talked about the possibility of a GoFundMe, and everybody said, well, that's just for like usually one person or one entity. I did read recently about this fund called the Bar Stool Fund. Are you aware of it? I don't know where he's from, but it was funded initially by
David Portney.
Yes. And I'm thinking, why is, and it's a lot to do with restaurants, celebrity guy, I forget his last name. He, you know, everybody's involved. Yeah. And it's probably in some metropolitan area or something, but I just don't know why we can't do a smaller scale thing and be creative and do something like that. I mean, I'm not that, talented in terms of figuring out how we could, attack this, but I just think it would be really a well received, because everybody, I don't know about, most people, but a lot of people want to support local businesses and restaurants, no question. Even if they can't go there, they would donate to a fund to create a support opportunity. Because I know I tried to do that, and I try to do the takeout and all that, but I would just, donate money just to have a pool of funds for access to these businesses if they continue to struggle. Just putting it out there is something that maybe is worthy of a little thought.
I wonder whether, listening to you, Bill, talking about PPE, do you think that all small businesses have enough access to know what the issues are, what they could do, how to do it quickly, so they're time or ahead of things? And also with the Senate having just changed leadership, it feels like the likelihood of yet a third act is higher in terms of funding for businesses. Should we be creating a forum, or maybe it's a forum, maybe it's something else, to help businesses know how to access funds that are coming available, building on Tom's point that maybe financial issues are there?
Yeah. Okay. So I will say, if having gone through our Explore Groton page that we set up, all this information has been provided. I went through, I was up to my neck with PPP in the first round. There were also grants. There was a lot of different resources.
A lot to learn. Yeah.
And you can only put that information in, because a lot of it's got to be specific information. You can't just say, oh, PPP and know what the specifics, because always questions come up. Now, I have the knowledge. The town did a great job. Our staff did a great job of keeping that updated, everything. Our job is to drive people to it. And that's really what my focus has been. And it's not just restaurants. So I really want to get they're the forefront because of that, but there's a lot of retailers that their foot traffic, just wasn't there. This is what the feedback I've gotten. So this is why I encourage you to keep doing your outreach, specific retailer. And I mentioned hey, what are you doing with digital advertising and outreach? And she goes, oh, I really should do more. Now, my opinion is that, okay, you better do something to adapt to the way things are changing. But I was able to give her the outreach. Here's my card. Give me your email, refer the email over so we can put it on our outreach, and then do a forum on it, because it gives specifics to how this will interact. And, you know, the businesses that are getting off, and I've dealt with them and they've done a good job. The ones that have kind of said, okay, what am I going to do now? And have really taken some of the changes needed, have been doing the best. Cash flow is an issue, and the PPP has been a godsend for many of them. I'm doing the forgiveness program now. So these people for less than $150,000, soon, just a one-page affidavit, no documentation, they get their forgiveness and they can apply again. So there are funds there, and we're doing our best to get the word out. The accountants are all aware of it. So, but that's why the more I funnel to the web page, the better, because that information has been there for them. So I encourage that. Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. You're right. We try to keep that up to date. Another thing that we offer on the webpage is direct links to free business mentoring. SBDC has a mentor who's in the office of sector right there in the city. Obviously, all the meetings are remote now anyway, but in any case, it means that it's good representation. So if a business had a question, whether it is about PPP, whether it is about digital marketing or anything else, they could get a free remote business mentoring session. At this stage, through this situation, any business mentor they've talked to has probably already talked to a dozen businesses with the same problems. The problem that we have is engaging the businesses, because the businesses, Bill, your example is perfectly accurate. They probably know what they need to be doing, but they're not doing it. My hope is that you guys would reach out. If there's something you're wondering, hey, would this be a help to the business? Go ask all the businesses on your list, and then we'll all know whether it will be a help to them. And we'll take that feedback. At the same time, the more email addresses we have that are more accurate and more up to date, that means the next time we have a forum or I have an update about PPP or some sort of federal program, we're getting it right in front of them, and you guys can even follow up. So as I said, I'd like you to think about this as a conversation going into 2021. Maybe the way to reach out to them is to have these questions and go to them and say, hey, we just had an EDC meeting. We were wondering, would it help you to have digital marketing forum? Would that be of interest to you? If not, then what? And then bring that back to us or email to Lauren.
Greg.
I think we could work this issue completely tonight and not necessarily get there. I'm trying to bring it to a closure a little bit. What I raised for us was the question of whether this outreach ought to be heightened as one of our goals in order to stay with something that we were trying to do and make sure it's a goal for all of us, and then use the feedback however we hear it in terms of whatever the issues are that we've identified that we should be working on. So I'm just trying to elevate the outreach part of our activity as a clear goal, not just lost this time because it's always been highlighted previously. If ever it was useful, I think it's now.
Correct. And you know what? Our outreach prior, and Craig, I've been there with you for the number of years now doing it. We kind of just were outreaching. We have something specific to outreach to at this point, which I think gives us a little bit more credibility and receptivity from the businesses. We each have our list. And I guess the way I see the strength of that list that we all have is the more times you touch those businesses, they get to know you. And they know that you got, and I think Susan was the perfect example. She had one call on, they had a question for her about street signs. She got an answer and brought it back to them.
Yeah, right away.
So I would encourage us to continue to reach and touch as much as you can. And now it doesn't have to be on that, I got to make my 10 calls a day. If you're in the area, stop in. How things going? We really want some feedback because you already have a presence there. So I can elevate it. I can star it. This is for the council to look at. From our standpoint, this should always be our priority. And so I will format it any way you want, but that's a given. We need to continue what we've started here, and we have something to go out with. And I like Sam's concept of, now I go to another business and say, hey, listen, what are you doing with a digital presence? Because this is what I've heard from other businesses. Is it something that's and they might be, I don't know what you're talking about. Guess what? We're gonna have a forum on this. Would that be helpful for you? You know, make them want to be on that forum. You know, that's where we can corral them to give them that specific information. So that's my point of view, but open
When
to
we
all.
when we send emails, how does it jump out of the list of the many emails that people get when we send it out to these businesses for having a forum, whatever? Is there some sort of like, something that grabs their attention? I know we talked about that. We want to make sure that that's, you know, something we're doing.
Sam.
Yeah, I'm happy to respond to that. It's really all
Okay.
about the personal relationships. As you know, everybody gets all kinds of emails and they can only attend to so many of them. And, you know, when I send out updates about a grant or a federal program, you know, I'm putting things in, it's coming from Groton Economic Development. So, you know, theoretically, that's got some credibility, some recognition.
Sure.
The subject line is going to say, hey, look, we got a free business forum about this, that, or the, you know, that might be really useful to you. That's still not as powerful as them here, having you stop by, say hi to them, wish them well, ask them questions, get their email, follow up with an email, and then follow up with another email, and then have them say, oh, this came from that person that came in and stopped by and was from the town.
Sure.
And was
Yeah,
so
that makes
helpful.
sense.
Personal relationships is what we're hoping is the way to break through all the white noise that's keeping them from deciding, hey, you know what? It's finally time for me to make an appointment with a business mentor, or yes, this is the session I need to go to because Susan told me about it and I'm excited and I'm going to be there.
Yeah, good point.
Anything else? I receive all your points and ideas. And as I said, please just filter everything you wanted to incorporate into it, or bullet points or emphasis and stuff like that. I am receptive to. Get them to Lauren. She'll get them to me. We'll come up with a better draft. I'll get it out to you earlier now that we have something to work with. And then, you know, get it out to for next meeting. We'll have something and we can either refine it or approve it or whatever. But I think that's where we should move with this at this point.
Sure.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, review of the bylaws. I brought this up at the last meeting. I went through them again. I know we made some changes last year. Is there anything that sticks out at people that we want to address, or we just want to approve them? There's really no need to do anything on them. It's just a matter of giving us the opportunity at this time of the year.
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept it as is unless there's some.
Yeah, Laura, do I even have to have a motion on this?
No, no motion
Oh,
needed.
okay,
Yeah, we're not changing anything. So as I said, I just wanted to give everyone the opportunity.
okay,
So as long as we're not making any changes,
okay.
One question about
we
them.
can change them anytime we want also. So just because we don't do it tonight doesn't mean we're stuck.
Right, exactly. You're right. It's not a one-time deal.
Right.
Bill, one question they raised for me. In reading it, there was a section called absence of members. And if I'm correct, there's some members who have not attended like 4 or 5 sessions. And I'm just wondering whether we should be reaching out to them to see whether or not, at least one, and we should be reaching out to find out whether they want to be on the EDC.
Yeah, I believe that's the town manager's responsibility. And I know that in the past, everyone that has requested some time off and stuff like that have gone through him. And that's his, we really are here at his pleasure. And that's the way how it's worked. If you have any concerns in that regards, I'd be happy to relay it over to him so he can have that conversation. But he's the one that usually reaches out to saying, are you still interested, not interested? What's the status of it? So I usually leave that in his hands as I've seen in the past.
So there isn't a mechanism where we convey to John that we have the following absence issues. We don't do that. We just sort of hope he picks up on it.
No, we can relay it over to them because in some respects there are legitimate reasons why, whether it's health or such like that. And my experience has been they all have relayed that over to him personally. So if I have a concern, which I don't have at this point for any individual, because I'm made aware of them, I just don't get involved to the specifics of what they've been talked about. So that makes sense?
So, Bill, may I?
Yes, George. George.
So typically going forward from a long while ago, the staff is supposed to, in this case, our Lauren is supposed to inform the manager that there's been lack of attendance by certain members, so that the manager is then aware of that. So it's proactive, not reactive. So it's the role of Lauren and Paige or Sam to let the manager know that's been the shortcoming.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it has been. And
That's
whenever I've had a question, when I've been in the position, I've raised it and I've gotten a response that's been acceptable, I guess is the way I look at it. But I let them handle that aspect. But there's never, sometimes it's like, hey, what's going on with so-and-so? And, you know, but I don't need to get into personal reasons or health reasons.
No. There's nothing to get into personal reasons.
Right.
The fact of the matter, the manager is busy. He's got 1,001 things.
Sure.
And he does not need to pay attention to the details. The staff pays attention to details and funnels it up. And in this particular case, I had fought long and hard to make sure we get full, complete 9-member EDC long time ago. And part of the clause was that if they fail to show up 3 times, they are out. No if, no but, out. And the manager is supposed to identify somebody else. Now, again, it's the manager's prerogative how long he takes and when he takes and who he identifies. The EDC has no role in it. Earlier days we recommended, but that drifted away. But the manager decides, but he needs to know there are absences, contiguous absences.
Is there an issue now? I'm kind of confused by we're talking about this. Is there attendance issue right now, George?
I'm the one that raised it. My bet is that if
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
get the log of who's been at meetings and who hasn't, you'd find at least one member who has missed 4 or 5. So that's the reason why I'm raising it. I wasn't trying to raise
Okay.
so much as I was trying to put the issue and the mechanism on the table so that, as George was saying, we have a means of conveying the information to those who can address it.
We do have the means. We do have the means. I can personally say I just ask those types of questions, what's going on, and I'll be in a little bit of deference, and I've not missed any meetings, but that's my thing, is COVID has been a different time for all of us. So things that I wasn't anticipating, I get drawn into and stuff. I try to be cognizant of all those things, but point is well taken. And tell you the truth, this isn't the easiest job in the world as far as I'm concerned. So if you're really not willing to put the time into it, there's other people that I think will step up to it, as we've seen. So. And
Bill, on the roll call, not the roll call, but under roll call, it doesn't, and maybe this is the way it is, but it never shows not in attendance or absent or whatever on the agenda, on the minutes. Yeah, on the minutes rather. I'm sorry. Yeah. So is that like the way? I mean, I just don't. I mean, we don't see each other. I don't remember who was on here because we're on Zoom, and I only see who's talking. So
I would defer to Lauren on that. And from my past experience from boards, for the public record, you just need to know who is there and who is voting.
That makes sense.
Don't say who wasn't there, but you can use that as a record of saying these meetings, you weren't there. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
All right.
That's
yeah,
a public record when we do our minutes. So that's just to let the community, the public at large to know who was at the meeting, who voted.
Sure. Yeah,
So-
that makes sense. Okay. That's, it's not internal. It's really public information.
Correct.
Okay.
And I
Thank
would
you.
defer to Lauren if we could, if that's to be changed and stuff like that, but I don't believe in my past experience that's the case.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Great.
Point taken, Craig, though. And as I said, there are mechanisms, and I'll bring it up just to make sure that everyone's aware that that's what the process is. Business outreach,
Hang
we've
on, Bill. No, the
Yep.
process is the staff does,
correct.
not the chair.
As I said, I usually elevate it from the standpoint what's going on because I'm usually out of concern, and then I get the feedback, and I haven't had any situation where saying, wow, this is just not right. You know, can we talk to John about this? I haven't come across that.
Well, the problem was I had to remove a member a long time ago who did not show up for over 13 months and I did not have enough members in the EDC, and it became a problem. And subsequently, we couldn't get quorum. So it became a key element to revise the entire EDC, where thereby the role of attendance was left to the town staff, not to the chair. The chair can obviously approve.
No, the town manager, not the town manager.
No, that's not right, Susan. I
Yeah.
would say the town staff who is in attendance will then report to the town manager.
Right.
The chair can, of
If
course.
I had someone that wasn't here for 13 months, George, yeah, that would be like you're dead wood here. We need people. I do know the process of bringing on new commissioners since I've been on board has been a little bit more. The vetting process of bringing new commissioners on, I know that process has changed. So we asked these questions. One of the specific ones: are you willing to do outreach? Because we had members before that were not willing, and we were like, this is one of the
No, that's not true. I have not done any outreach.
No.
Organization
George, you've been here. I'm saying the new vetting process. We don't go back to the people that are already on. So
No,
when we have people coming on new, that's part of our process now.
Bill, that's not right.
That's
You can't
not-
impose.
What's
Well,
not-
that's kind of, I mean, I don't know if this is a subject for debate right now. I think we're digressing here, but
we are.
but I think we should, have a discussion in more detail and have it on the agenda.
Just for your understanding, Bill, the reason why I refuse to do this retail work, my interest is not in retail. My interest is small and medium businesses in the town of Groton. I'm looking to amplify them. I'm looking to connect them. I'm looking to amplify and empower small and medium businesses. The retail portion of our town, we have 3 separate organizations. We've had Downtown Mystic Merchants. We've had Groton Business Association. We have Mystic Chamber. These 3 entities combined should be the enough firepower for a population of 40,000 to administer and review the needs of the retailers and the restaurateurs in this town. That is the role that they are paying their dues for. It is not the role, in my opinion, the role of EDC. The EDC is the policy, is an advisory body to the manager and to the town council.
So, hey, George, on the you mentioned that you want to support and promote small, medium-sized businesses. Do you provide that information of your interaction and the results of those meetings with those businesses in a more formal way, or is that just when you decide that you want to share something?
Both.
It'd be nice to have that information.
Sorry, I don't have the time. I share that with the town manager.
Okay.
Okay, now we're really digressing because
Yeah.
So
the opinion of the EDC is the way I understand it. So we are here to support all businesses. The chambers have specific things. We have a little bit more of a focus from the town at large. We encompass all of them. So I'm not going to even get into that debate because I know what the charge I've received and my understanding since being on board. Paul, you have something to share?
yeah, I would say, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the goals, but I do believe that we need to re-engage with the local chambers of commerce, right? We don't have a liaison on anymore. And I would even go to the Eastern Chamber. I would expect the Eastern Chamber to be fully involved with us and reciprocate that as well with any meetings that we can attend.
Yeah,
I think it's fundamental. I think it's fundamental.
We've been more involved in Eastern Connecticut, and I thought, I'll tell you, this is my understanding. They don't have the liaison, which was the Groton portion, because they incorporated it into the Greater Mystic Chamber. The Greater Mystic Chamber basically fell apart. They lost their director. They really don't have someone to give it to us at this point in time. Main Street does their own thing, and they've always kind of been. And that being said, that's why EDC is needed more than anything else.
I totally agree that we're needed. I would just say that we certainly need to press them to re-engage with us. I'm sure Bruce Flax would join us from the Greater Mystic Chamber of Commerce.
Exactly.
It was asked about. I agree.
Okay, well, I can ask him as well. And in addition to that, is there any restrictions to us having either being a liaison or having a liaison from the city of Groton EDC?
We used to have.
Yeah, I think we need to work on that as well.
So Jill is our representative from the city.
I am not the representative from the city. I'm
She's the RTM representative.
But I could ask
Oh, you're
for.
the RTM.
All right, one at a time, please.
I could definitely talk to Sierra Patrick about getting a liaison from the city EDC. That wouldn't be a problem.
So
great, Jill. And if in return you can let them know that I or one of us are willing to be a liaison and join their meetings.
So, gentlemen and ladies, we have gone through this process several times in the past years. The city of Groton has been invited several times. The city of Groton was a member of the EDC starting from Marion's time. Sierra has been sitting at the EDC commission, just like the others, like Adam was in the earlier years. That request remains standing, and why they dropped off or why they don't attend anymore, that I don't know. However, the city, the Downtown Mystic Merchants, Peggy from Mystic Chamber, Tony Sheridan, they were all part of this commission at once upon a time. But I believe at some level, at some point, there was a lack of interest or lack of collaboration or whatever it was. They sort of drifted away.
It was Tricia Cunningham, I believe, on the chamber.
Yeah. Sam.
Yeah, I don't think that this history is really relevant or helpful to us at all. I think that I appreciate, Paul, you being willing to follow up on some of these things, and you too, Jill, but I would only recommend that if we're going to have something, put it on the agenda. If we really want to have a discussion in depth about that, put it under other business or put it on a future agenda. But really,
we're digressing.
I don't think this is going anywhere.
No, and I'm going to end it on this. We spent a full year of doing collaboration with all the different parties you're talking about. We actually had something in place, and unfortunately COVID came. So we had a forum that actually we handed off to sector. Craig was actually in charge of all that. So we've had these discussions as a board, not necessarily when certain members were not on this. We reach out all the time. So I will just change with that. Business outreach. We've talked about this enough, and we're just going to continue what we're doing. We have our list of 20. The one we have coming up on Monday, it's a service group that wants to see if there's a market for them. we're not promoting them, but we're getting the word out of maybe this is something the restaurants would be interested in at a lower cost. So I would encourage everyone with those lists. I know it's short term right at this point. We kind of put it together quickly. Just do a quick outreach, whether it's an email, a phone call, or a stop-in. That would be the best approach. Any new business?
No.
Chair report, I've spoken enough, so I'm going to pass it off to Sam.
Thanks. And again, I'm happy to step in for Paige. The entire report is in your packet. So I encourage you to take a quick look at that. But let me talk about that shoreline menus thing. You know, as we've discussed in the past, when you have something to offer to a business, it's easier to go out to them and say, hey, this is coming up. Now, I know that this shoreline menus is on Monday, but my understanding is that we'll be able to record it. If that's not true, it's certainly going to be true for some future forums. If it's true, it's going to be recorded. You could go out to the business and say, hey, this service is out here and they recorded the forum, and I'm happy to send you the link. So there's always another reason to get back in touch with these businesses, even if something's already gone by. The forums that we've already had have been recorded. So we encourage you to go to sit in on that on Monday if you can, and then you'll have a good sense of what this service is all about, the questions that come up, the feedback that people have. And then maybe when you go out to your restaurants, you'll have another question for them. Hey, do you use DoorDash? Have you thought about somebody else? What are the issues that are going on? So it's really, the more we know about the issues that are facing businesses today, the more equipped we are to have a really meaningful conversation when we do meet up with them. On a related note, Lauren's been working on another promotional for the restaurants. Again, Eat Local, Win Local. And we expect that to be launched, if not tomorrow, certainly very early next week. We'll make sure you guys get an email talking about the details of it. But it's just another thing that we're hoping that we get the word out on it. We'll put some social media and put it in the newsletters, and that will get folks, we're hoping it gets folks to remember how this is a really tough stretch for those restaurants. They had their holiday uptick with any luck, but things get quiet during the colder months, and we really hope that they've got a way to kind of gap across this into the back into the warmer months. Let me talk about public property redevelopment real quickly. And again, the overarching idea with this public property redevelopment is these things are ongoing. As Bill had said earlier, we were very fortunate that the people who are looking to invest in our communities, they see that all the fundamentals are still there. The electric boat contracts are coming through, so they see continued job growth, and they want to be invested in Groton. So as economic conditions continue to evolve, our hope is that we're going to hit the ground running. One, Sealy School, that property was officially sold to the Donmar development team in December. So that's almost
well done, you guys. Well done. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're
Thanks.
really excited about that.
Yeah.
And the other one I wanted to mention is Mystic River Bluffs, the former Mystic Education Center. So they're initiating those conversations about the zoning and the site plan. Again, if you guys are out talking to the general public, both of these organizations have web pages, and both these organizations are very open to taking comments. Obviously, they can send comments to us, but the developers themselves have already stated that they want the feedback, specifically with regards to Mystic Education Center, the River Bluffs. They have to start with a site plan, but there's a lot of flexibility in there. And the more feedback they get, the more they can tailor that, especially early on in the process. So what we're trying to do is to encourage everybody to understand this is an ongoing and an open conversation. It was actually the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on the 29th of December where the Restler developers gave a presentation. That's on YouTube right now, and anybody can take a look at that as well as go to the websites that are listed in there. That's the couple things I wanted to highlight. Unless there's any other questions, appreciate it, Bill.
Thanks,
Sam, is the survey on Facebook?
I'm sorry, George.
Is a survey on Facebook?
Which survey?
The survey that you were asking the developers would want it. Is there a way that you can link it on Facebook?
We have a on our website. We've got a page called Project Updates, and what we have is all the links on there. Typically, these are open kind of comment boxes. So you send, you give them your name, your email, and you give them your comment. So we've got those on our website right now.
Aside from that, in terms of what you're trying to achieve now, would it not be feasible for you to put that request and a link on Facebook?
Yeah,
to
we
help
could definitely,
the developers?
Yep, we could definitely do that.
All right. Are we still on LinkedIn?
What we found is that the Facebook community is much more engaging. It's those, when Lauren sends something out on Facebook, especially when she sends stuff about retail and restaurant opportunities, people's thoughts and feedback, we get good response. LinkedIn, as a professional community, it's just a little too narrow. So we're focusing on Facebook as well as direct outreach via newsletter.
That's because they're talking low.
Thanks, Bill.
Sam, just a quick question. And just quick, looking at the unemployment data.
Yes.
It showed that we were at 8 in September, 6 in October, and then 8 in November. Is there any like sort of, I mean, is there any information about that? That's a big, like, up and down.
I don't have details on that, but when I looked at it, my take on it was that, statewide and certainly within our market area, there was also a kind of a reversal of that trend and uptick. So I'd say that we're in line with the rest of the region.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, again, this is the long-term trends. We certainly hope that it'll level out at this point. But no, if I had more information, we'd provide it, but I don't have any more insight on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I just curious, but it is better than it was for sure. But thank you.
It was also, Susan, it was also a time frame when outdoor dining basically ceased because of weather changes, and that had a big impact on some of those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree.
Sure,
So Sam, I have to tell you this. That data that you get is from DECD and DOL, where they scrub from US Census. We've already determined in the state that data is actually not really accurate, but it suffices for the circumstances that we are in now, plus the fact that the US Census is considered really just a bullshit factor unless the new Congress decides to reactivate a proper US census. There's a vast list of minorities who have not participated in the state of Connecticut. And
so again, just to answer to your question, George, I would say, as I mentioned before, the most value that this data has to us is long-term trends and how do we compare to the surrounding region. So seeing the improvement we had, then you see a little bit of a reversal. Certainly, the weather would explain that to a degree, but seeing that we're still in line with the broader region,
you have. Okay,
all right. Concerned. Yeah, that's the first step. And I believe us, in our office, we know data has only a certain level of
I just wanted to caution you. So
Thank
the point was, I just wanted to caution you not to be dependent on that, because it's nice to have a baseline figure, but that's not the true accurate numbers.
Great. Thanks, George. Anybody else?
Just a quick, on terms of real estate, do you have any sort of information about any upticks more so than normal, because we have a lot of people relocating all over the place? Do we see that? Are we the beneficiary of an influx of new people in the community? And
it's been anecdotal, and it's I think it's still been short term, and this whole situation has evolved month by month. Getting in touch with the broker community, through the holiday season
Yeah.
I put on the back burner, but moving forward, I can see the value of that. And I know we've talked about
Yeah.
that in the past.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
So Susan, to answer your
Yes.
question to another level. So the state of Connecticut tries to devise, or the controller of the state tries to devise these numbers, like, for example, like what you're asking, based on what the towns and the cities, all 169 towns and cities are able to accumulate.
Yeah.
The problem has been the fact that with the pandemic, there has not been a way of tabulating these numbers either physically or virtually in any shape and form. So this
Yeah.
whole 2020 and possibly another 8 months or more, there is going to be no way to conclude. Even the town clerk doesn't know who moves in and whatnot. And the state typically use DRS in terms of taxpayer information to sort of figure out who is in Groton or who moved to Groton. But the DRS database, as we have now come to learn since the pandemic, is 30 years out of date. 30.
Okay.
That includes the Secretary of State's database.
Wow.
It's 30 years out of date. They have not had the resources to clean up the database or even update and say somebody moved from Groton to Stonington. Nobody knows.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
if you've been getting mails from companies that were renting one of the offices in Stonington and they left a long time ago and they're still getting the DRS notifications.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for the question, Susan. I feel like it's just one more of those things where we're going to have continued fallout as we go into the new year and the data. It may be, you know, we've always appreciated Aaron's feedback with return in terms of new customers.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, but I agree it's a really hard thing to get a hold of.
Sure.
Any
Oh,
other
yeah.
questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you all. All right, moving to liaison reports. I'm going to start with Jill this time.
Okay, sorry you threw me off on that.
I love to do that.
Thanks, appreciate it. So the the only thing really that we talked about that was voted on was that the 2020 Civilian Oversight Research Committee finished their final report. It was unanimously voted on. And really what the focus of that was, how do we want civilians to interact with our police? Do we want oversight for them? And really what the committee came up with was to do a community-based policing group. So the city has a PACT group, it's called, and they're kind of basing it off that type of style. So that was really the only thing that we voted on. It was recommended to the town council, but the town council will make the final decision. And that was it.
I thank you, Jill. And
Thank
how about Aaron?
Thanks, Bill. Nothing from GU this month.
Thank you, Aaron. And Adam.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I submitted the report, but I will touch on one item. The second main bullet under joint land use study and I'm sorry, I'm looking at another screen here, but the Navy's manpower training and personnel bullet there. That's an exciting project.
Adam, where do I see that?
Oh, if I'm not sure where it is in the package.
Yeah, it's in the packet, like in a few pages in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, under Navy manpower and training, that's an exciting project. I mentioned last time. Paige had asked, and what that is, it's not under joint land use study. It's not Office of Economic Adjustment that's funding it. It's actually the Navy Training and Education Command that's funding that. And that's to look at the pre-commissioning use sailors, and they're the sailors that are assigned to electric boat as a boat's being built. So they're not actually assigned to the sub base at all, but they are Navy sailors and they come to Groton. Right now we have the Virginia class being built. So there's a crew for each Virginia class submarine. It's gonna by about 3 times with all the Columbia sailors, and they're to the Columbia class and then the NETC Navy Education Training Command credit. They're looking at how they will be housed. Current PCU sailors are housed through the boat building contract. So Electric Boat houses those sailors, and it's expensive for the Navy. There's probably a better way. So they're to their credit, they're looking at redefining that paradigm. Last time Paige had asked if we could get him a letter saying that we're going to have this need to help developers look at that. I can't promise that. I can't say that Navy can provide a letter, but what the good news is that, as you can see in the report, in mid-March, there'll be stakeholder meetings and the town will be part of that. So Sam, we'll be coming to you and they'll be coming out, talking to the town, what's available, schools that might work for this that are being repurposed. The end result is the Navy may decide to build something on base or buy property off base and build it, or not do anything and just lease property, or put it back under EB. So that all possibilities are open, but it's a chance for the town to sell that. And I'm certainly supporting, keeping it into the market, the open market outside the baseline, rather than building another facility on base that we can't necessarily sustain in the long term. So those are some of the dynamics with that. I'm glad to say it's going to be a robust study, and Sam, we're gonna work with the town closely on that and have you be a key stakeholder in those talks before anything gets done. So coming out of those stakeholder meetings, you'll have some material you could use to promote, the need for additional housing in the town.
So how many headcounts are you looking at? What's the projection from year 1 to year 5? Do you know?
Let's see. It looks like this is all memory, George, but in addition to the Virginia class PCU sailors, I think the way they're looking at it is the Navy does a study on what's available in the community for rentals that are acceptable for Navy personnel to live in. And they come up with a shortfall of about 300 units.
You could have 300 people here
for many years. What's that?
300 people?
Yeah, or 300 rental units, 300 apartments or houses to rent.
Wow.
Short in the community. So now at the same time, Groton's building a lot of stuff. So it's going to sort of be a flow.
But it's also a nice inducement for developers to look at, okay, this is the potential demand we have coming in. So that's how they look at it from a development standpoint. So
right.
That's great feedback. Thank you, Adam, for that. And Sam, I'm sure you guys will all keep us informed as those meetings progress. So
yeah, thanks, Adam. Sounds good.
Good stuff.
Are we in terms of liaisons, is Leanne our liaison for the town council now, and Rachel is in, or I don't remember.
As far as I know, Leanne is still our liaison. She was on the last meeting. Rachel, I think, is just taking some time away, but that's for them to appoint, just like for the other thing. So.
I just wanted to know. I mean, I know Leanne's been on, but I know that Rachel was, and I didn't know if there was an official change or not.
None that I know of. None that I've been made aware of. I know it's either Leanne will still be coming. The invitation's always there, and I know she goes out. Anything we send information to, I think we send them to still both. So
okay. Yeah, good.
Any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.